to recap the first game of the NFL season next on Fantasy Football Today in 5. Welcome to FFT in 5. I'm Chris Towers. I'm here with Adam Azer, and that was an interesting game between the Chiefs and Lions. I'm not quite sure where to start. Sometimes we do winners and losers. Is there anyone who looks like a winner coming out of this game?
Yeah, I think David Montgomery.
Yeah.
21 carries, only 7 for Jahmyr Gibbs, but I would not expect that to continue that way. I think Montgomery did a great job. He converted a few third downs, big ones, including the one to seal the game. He scored the touchdown. But this was David Montgomery against a defense that didn't have Chris Jones. He averaged 3.5 yards per carry, and his longest run was 8 yards. Everybody saw it. What were they doing? Pretty much every time Jahmyr touched the ball, he was lightning.
This is Dan Campbell. This is the bite your kneecaps guy. Of course he's going to use the slow plodding between the tackles guy to establish it.
It's not going to look. I think Montgomery, we had been saying Montgomery was great value in fantasy drafts. I really think the best is yet to come. I mean, that's an easy thing to say now for Gibbs because he's coming off a game with 8 PPR points. But I think there's a lot of potential there for him because if you didn't watch the game, basically every time he touched the ball, it looked like he was going to do something special, and including when he fell down. I think he was going to turn the corner and score a touchdown in that play. I think that there are going to be some advanced metrics on his very few touches about how many extra yards he created, how many tackles he broke. He looked really good, and he'll get more work. Montgomery is definitely a winner, though. He's going to do the things that Dan Campbell wants him to do. Josh Reynolds is a winner. I mean, I talked about him this week. I started him in 2 leagues. When he had 5 or more targets, maybe it was 6 or more targets last year. I think it happened 5 times. He had 4 good games. He is the number 2 wide receiver right now. I even think Laporta is a bit of a winner. I mean, it's not a bad debut for him. 5 for 39. I thought their offense looked pretty good. They didn't score a ton of points. They fumbled inside the 10, but you come away from this game feeling pretty good about the Lions offensively. I don't,
and then there's the Chiefs.
Exactly.
I mean, look, the key stat for the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes threw the ball 39 times, and no player had more than 5 targets.
Yeah.
Noah Gray, Rashee Rice, and Kadarius Toney had 5 targets in this game. No, Gray, he's not going to matter. You shouldn't have started him this week. There were better options, including the other guy on the opposite side of the field. If you started him, that was a mistake. It could have been worse. He had 6.1 PPR points. Rashee Rice, I think there could be something here. It was disappointing that he didn't build on a very good first half. Had the touchdown, I think 3 catches in the first half. Didn't really build on that. They kept rotating their wide receivers. We're not dropping Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, right?
I
mean, Kadarius, it was bad for both of them.
It was terrible for both of them.
Kadarius Toney had multiple horrendous drops, including one that led directly to a pick 6. Scott, he had 1 catch for 1 yard on 5 targets. Sky Moore, big goose egg, 0 catches, 0 yards, obviously 0 yards on 3 targets. He actually was second on the team in snaps at wide receiver. He just couldn't earn a target.
Yeah.
That was real frustrating.
They both were horrible. And then Moore, even on that last effort, he could have had that catch and didn't work out. That would like the 4th and 25. If I were going to drop one of them, it would be Moore. Tony didn't play at all in the preseason. He had the injury. This was the worst game of his career. I mean, obviously, he hasn't done a lot in his career, but it was terrible. He had 3 drops. One of them wasn't really his fault. 2 of them were just devastating. You mentioned the one that ended up being a pick 6. Again, I saw it in the preseason and nobody seemed to care. Sky Moore, he was on the field a ton.
It wasn't earning targets.
He's MVS in the slot. Now it's too early. I don't want to drop him necessarily, but if I were going to drop him, this conversation needs to happen on Tuesday after we see what happens. If there's a really big performance, then I do think he's droppable because I think this is what you're going to see. I think you're going to see a lot of guys rotate in. You're going to see Justin Ross and Rashee Rice. You're going to see their roles grow as the year goes on. I don't think Sky Moore is going to be a reliable target getter for this team, even without Kelsey.
Yeah, it's looking like a big loss for me. I ranked him as a top 36 wide receiver coming into the season. I bought the preseason hype, and that's that's the thing is I'm not going to give up on him yet. I think I'll give him another week, but clearly it was a terrible game for him. Also, not a great game for the running backs here. Isaiah Pacheco led the way with 8 carries for 23 yards. Did surprisingly catch all 4 passes thrown his way. Do you think that's going to be something moving forward that he gets used more like?
Yeah, I mean, this is another thing I talked about that I don't feel like my colleagues really thought took it seriously. I mean, if you don't have Juju, and that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have Hardman, who
they just don't have anyone reliable right now.
They're gonna have to throw to their running backs more.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I do think Pacheco can be that guy, and his numbers were really bad, 8 for 23, but he still looked like his explosive self, I thought. And it's another guy who missed a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
Clyde started the game, as I recall, but then Pacheco, I want to see the snap count. Do you have the snap count there?
I don't have the snap count, but I believe at halftime, Pacheco had run more routes than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He had more carries in the end of the game. So I think it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire is clearly third here.
Yeah. So I think.
But if he has a role, it could just be frustrating. This Chiefs offense might just be really frustrating.
Yeah, let's see how it plays out. Kelsey's going to change everything for them.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's back next week. I think you give Pacheco a little bit of leash because he was injured in the preseason, and the catches are encouraging.
So from a fantasy perspective, kind of a disastrous first game of the season, but hey, we got 15 more games in week 1. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about the biggest questions for week 1. We'll be back on Sunday to get some of the biggest injuries that we're looking at, and we'll see you then on FFT and 5. Bye.